Here we go. So I made a little agenda and I'll just go through oh look, it says agenda twice. Cool. So I'm just gonna go through the key things that I think are relevant to you guys when you have clients going to Europe. And just if you're interested, this is a little map of my trip. Um, as you can see, we went really zigzaggy, made a bit of a loop. Um, So we started off in the Azores and then did a Virgin voyage in the Mediterranean. Um, Went all through Italy and across to Albania and the Balkans. Spent majority of time in the Balkans and then flew up to Ireland to fly home. Okay, so just really quickly, these are some of the sites that I used along the way. So I used Expedia Tap for a lot of hotels and car rentals. Hotels mostly in Western Europe. Once I got to Eastern Europe, it was a lot harder to find hotels that were decent. So I also used booking.com for some apartments. And I did use, not that it's listed here, but I did use a lot of Airbnb for Eastern Europe because, again, there's just not a ton of hotels out there. And when you're doing a long trip, you want to be aware of laundry facilities and some cooking facilities, and nice to break things up a bit. So, mixture of hotels and an apartment style accommodations. And for buses and things in so just so you know, we kind of did a mixture. We did like trains, we did buses, we did car rentals mostly, a ferry, and a few cruises. So if you have clients in Eastern Europe, the two websites for that are reliable for buses are Get by Bus and Flixbus. So Flixbus, they operate in the States also, so your clients may be familiar with them, but it's a reliable site. They do own and operate some of the buses, but for the most part, they use like a local provider, and then kind of brand it Flix. And Get by Bus, kind of the same thing. So they don't have their own buses, they're just like a consolidator. And then Travel Brands was really good for car rentals as well. One thing I'll point out in Ireland for car rentals, just so you're aware, when we got there, we had a heck of a time getting them to give us the car because they wanted us to have a letter from our insurance company saying that we were covered for Ireland. And apparently, this is because they drive on the other side of the road, and some credit cards, for example, exclude Ireland. So be aware, let your client know that they might need that and to have it prepared, because we stood there for probably like an hour trying to call a credit card company and find this information, which was a bit of an annoying hassle. So just a little heads up for that. And then just quickly about visas and border patrol. So um, I don't know how many of you book clients for a lengthy duration in Europe, but you have 90 days allowance in the Schengen zone within a 6-month period. So Schengen zone isn't necessarily EU countries. For example, Ireland is not part of the Schengen. So if you go to Ireland, it counts as days outside of the Schengen zone. But then there's countries that aren't in the EU that are part of the Schengen zone. Romania and Bulgaria just joined this year. So what that means typically is that when you're going between these countries, they're not going to do any kind of border control, so customs or anything like that. So when we flew from Portugal to Spain, we didn't have to go through any customs immigration, anything like that. Just also another heads up, if your clients are traveling by bus, which is common in Eastern Europe, if they're going through borders, sometimes they'll just collect everybody's passports and give it to the security people, and they'll just look through and give them back. But sometimes you have to fully get off the bus, go through, take your bags off, and wait for everybody to go through and get their stamp. So really allow some extra time if your clients are going by bus. Um, and that is the boring stuff. Okay, so the Azores. Um, So this was never part of the plan, but I was visiting family in Toronto, so that's where I started the trip. And basically, I was like, how's the cheapest way to get to Barcelona, which was where my cruise started. And I was looking at all different kind of flight options and combinations, and came up with Seda Azores was the cheapest to fly from Toronto to Barcelona. So I figured, hey, why not add a few nights in the Azores, check it out, have a stopover. And that's a really good suggestion for clients. It's always great to offer a stopover. They may not want it, but to give them the option adds value to your service and your knowledge and expertise. Uh, and adding the stopover didn't add any cost flight wise. So obviously, it's just the cost that you have in destination. Seda Azores, they were fine to fly with. Nothing, notable, neither good nor bad. They were good. So this is Ponta Delgada on San Miguel Island. Really, really, really beautiful place. Would highly recommend it to clients, whether they're going as a stopover or part of a larger Portugal trip. So the main thing here, there were a lot of like small, easy hikes, a lot of beautiful viewpoints that you could drive to, a lot of volcanoes, waterfalls. There was even like a natural swimming hole that was heated by the volcanic rock, which was super cool. Um, so all that kind of stuff, pineapple plantations, beautiful old town and waterfront, really lovely place. And then the hotel that we stayed at was called Senora de Rosa. It's a few pictures of it on the left-hand side there. And I would 1,000% recommend this to clients. It's beautiful. They have a really lovely pool area outside. They have a really nice spa. You can go and use the steam sauna rooms for free, and then it's just paying for you know massages, treatments, that kind of thing. But it's a lovely little boutique hotel, so keep that one in mind. So again, our cruise was out of Barcelona, and it turns out that that weekend was also the Grand Prix. So staying in Barcelona was extremely expensive. Plus, I had been there twice before, so I thought, let's explore a little bit outside of Barcelona. And this is a really cool area that I would recommend if your clients have that extra time. If they're like, I have a week for Barcelona, and um, this is like a really nice little add-on. So it's called Cardona. It's just a cute little town with basically that castle on the hill there. That was our hotel. It's pretty much one of the only accommodations up there. You have to drive all the way up the mountain to get to it. And then you can get like breakfast included or half board, full board, that kind of thing. But the restaurant wasn't amazing. So I would say, take the car down to the town and eat there. But it was a very cute little place. Not super exciting, not a lot going on. It's mostly locals, but it is close to lots of things. So that cave on the right-hand side there, you can do a whole cave tour. Most of their tours are in Spanish. So if you're English, then you have to either go with the Spanish group or get an audio guide. And then Montserrat is on the left-hand side there. Your clients can also go to Montserrat as a day trip. It's about an hour outside of Barcelona, and it is super, super impressive. Like, there are tons of hikes that they can do there. They can walk around for hours. They don't even have to go inside. Uh, but if they go inside the monastery, there's a couple pictures there. It's beautiful. And so one tip is, if they're going as a day tour, they either have to have a car or go with an organized tour, because it is pretty impossible to get there by foot. So if they go with a day tour, the timing is obviously set. But if they take their own car, a good suggestion is actually going towards the end of the day when all the day tour people are leaving. It's much less crowded. And then after 6 p.m., I believe it was, you could actually enter the monastery for free, which was really nice. So yeah, a lot of nice hikes, viewpoints, and then yeah, like I said, end of the day, really nice time to be there. So that is Barcelona area. So now we come to Virgin. We did a cruise from Barcelona, went to Marseille, Cannes, Mallorca, and then overnight in Ibiza and back to Barcelona. So these were just my personal insights. So I know that Virgin is not for everyone. You really have to qualify your client and make sure that you're putting the right person on here, or it could be, not so fun for them. But for me, I think I was the perfect target demographic. Um, so this is what I enjoyed. I thought the food was phenomenal. I thought that it was a super fun ship to be on. Like there were lots of activities to do, whether it was like trivia or board games or the Scarlet Night Party and the 90s karaoke or the acrobatic shows that they put on. A lot of their entertainment is more interactive style. Um, so your clients kind of have to really get into it. So just let them know, like, don't be shy. They have to kind of get involved if they're going to enjoy it. If they kind of are shy and stand back, but then they may not enjoy it as much. But if they just accept it, get involved, it's super fun. So I thought the ship was really nice. A lot of great touches. The staff was and service was great. And it was just social environment. Like the entertainment staff did a really good job of getting people chatting. So if you wanted to go off and stay on your own, that was totally fine. But if you were, let's say, came to a trivia, they would pair you up um, and put you on teams and you can kind of get to know other people. So I didn't find personally there was much nickel and diming on board, which I liked. Everything was pretty much included except for your excursions and premium beverages, and then a few other things, of course. So what I didn't love is that the boarding took so long. I think it took a half an hour, maybe a bit longer. The line was extremely long. I think let your clients know that ahead of time so they're not surprised. And there are a couple of packages that they offer that they can get like expedited boarding. So those are things to look into, good things to suggest. And I also thought that the pools were pretty small and that the seating for the entertainment was also pretty limited, but they did do the shows multiple nights. So you did have opportunities to go. The Wi-Fi was great for like social media scrolling, but working was a bit tricky. Um, so here are just some photos of the ship itself. So you can see like there's a board game room, there's an arcade room, there's a gym, there beautiful touches. The restaurant bottom right is the wake. Lovely little details and so many like so many places to work out. They have a bunch of gym equipment along the deck. They have this boxing ring. They have places where you can chill out on the sofas. They have when the pools are full, like all along the main deck perimeter, there's places to lounge. Like there were always people just lounging around. Um, so there are lots of places that you can go that are quiet, that are relaxing. There, a lot of people think like this is just a party ship, but it's really what you make of it. So if you want to get involved, you can, and if you don't, you don't. Which I really liked about it. So this is just kind of a comparison of the pools. So on the left-hand side, you have the main pool on embarkation day when it was cloudy. And then next to that, you've got a sunny day. And look how crowded it is. It's such a small pool. And then on the right-hand side there, that's kind of the quieter pool. So like we would go there and read or whatever and just hang out. And you can see there's a ton less people. It's on the same deck, so it's just on the other side of that bar there. Um, but I found this one to be like if you want to go chill out and just hang and relax pool versus the main pool, which was definitely way more social. And here are some food pictures because I just thought the food was beautifully presented. I thought that everything was absolutely delicious. You can go and get ice cream anytime you want. They have like the whole upstairs, like upper deck, basically is essentially like a food court, but everything's made to order on Virgin. So there's not a lot of food waste because it's not buffet style. You go, you order your food, and they make it for you. Or in the case of the food court type area at the top, where you see like those pastries all lined up, um, a lot of it's still made to order. But then you have like salad bars and the pastry bars and everything. And then the top right, you can see that there's um, different flavored waters that you can fill up your drinks, which I thought was really nice. They also have machines where you can just go and fill up pop or juice, whatever. And then the top left there is your Korean barbecue. So that's a really fun way to meet people. Not everyone likes Korean barbecue. That's where you grill your own meat, but they have lots of fun sides too. They play a drinking game to get kind of break the ice. I would recommend telling your clients if they are social and they want to meet people, try and reserve that for the first night. It's a good way to meet people right at the start. And the wake, which is like the steak and seafood, had amazing breakfast and dinner. And Razzle Dazzle, which is actually like a vegetarian based menu, but they have meat options and fish options and stuff, was probably my favorite restaurant and oftentimes forgotten. But if you go there, the food is like absolutely amazing. So that is food. And then, yeah, a bit of pictures on entertainment. So as you can see, like the top right is Scarlet Night. Um, Honestly, I didn't really participate in Scarlet Night, um, but we did go and stand up on the balcony and watch everyone dancing and listening to the music. And because the actual deck itself was a bit crowded for me, but standing up on the balcony was quite fun to watch everybody. Like if you do want to get involved, it's super fun. But if you don't want to get involved, it's really just that top deck, the pool deck. And if you're inside, then it's not in your face or anything. So the show's a lot of acrobatics, a lot of comedy. There was so much to do. There was even like some coloring station, as you can see in the top left there. I loved the arcade. I think that's super fun. It doesn't cost anything. You just go and play games, and then bottom right, there's your board games. Go and take what you want. There's pool table, um, and like a shuffleboard table, I think it was. Um, and then, so this is just a bit of a illustration of how good the entertainment team is. So on the left-hand side, this is getting ready for the 90s rock karaoke show. So they have a band up there that sings a bunch of 90s songs, and then the words are on the screen for you to sing along. And at first, you can kind of see on the bottom left, there's some chairs for people to sit who want to sit and just chill and listen to the music. Um, and then in the middle, everybody's still kind of standing towards the back, just getting ready for the show. And then as the show got started and they kind of encouraged people to go on the floor and stuff, it really became everybody was out on the floor singing along, dancing. It was super fun. And that's just a testament to the entertainment team. It was they did a really great job. So um and if you guys have any questions, because I'm talking a ton, please just unmute and ask. So over on the other side, we went through Italy and then crossed over to Albania and then went north. So um, in Croatia, my absolute favorite way to travel around Croatia is to sail. I think that it's such a nice way of seeing the uh, different islands and not having to pack and unpack, but not being on a huge cruise ship. There's about 30-ish people on board maximum. Um, it's a small ship. There are lots of different levels from like a traditional boat with no air conditioning and like bunk beds to like super yachts. So again, you want to qualify your client and figure out the right fit for them. I chose one that's that I found that's a 30 to 49 age range. The reason I did this last time we went on Top Deck and it was 18 to 39, but majority of people were 21 and Australian and there to drink and party all of the time. And while I like a good socialization, I do not want to party the entire time. I actually want to see some of the places that I'm traveling to. So I thought this was a nice way to do it and be with like-minded people around my age who are probably in a similar stage of life. So it works out really well. Everyone on board was really fantastic. Um, what I love about the sailing trips in Croatia, I find it's a perfect balance of like that holiday relaxation and the traveling exploration. So you get up, you have breakfast on board, you go up to the sun deck, you do a little sunbathing, and then they stop in a beautiful swim spot. You go swimming for half an hour and an hour. You get back on board, you have lunch, and then you dock in a new spot and go and explore. And you have all afternoon and evening to explore on your own. And then basically you just have to be back on board by 6 a.m. and you're good to go. And then you repeat the next day. So these were the stops that we did. And it's absolutely beautiful in Croatia. And you overnight in Dubrovnik. So the way that this one worked specifically was that it was split to split. So it was return 8 day. However, this was a bit unusual. So there was two 4 day options. You could go split to Dubrovnik or Dubrovnik to split. So sometimes you would meet somebody at the beginning of the trip and they would be getting off in Dubrovnik. And then someone new would be getting on in Dubrovnik, and then you have 4 days with them. So that was a little bit odd. It was a little bit disappointing sometimes if you met someone cool and then they hopped off. But it's also a really good option for clients who want to do a one way because that's a really nice way to travel from Split to Dubrovnik or Dubrovnik to Split. It's also nice if they don't have as much time and they can still do a sailing trip. Um, this was a nice boat. I think it was a premium category boat. So there's air conditioning. You have a pretty nice cabin. There's a good deck with nice lounge chairs to suntan and whatnot. The food was excellent. The staff was excellent. What I didn't love is that um, there were a lot of things not included. So port fees, tipping, um, national park fee, that kind of thing. So that was, but it was fine because you knew that ahead of time. And then what's also nice is that if you're a solo traveler and you don't want to pay the single supplement, you could be paired up with someone. But if you want to pay a single supplement, you just get your own cabin. So this one was called Go Croatia Sail. I thought they were excellent. They have different levels of sailing. So they have younger ones, they have more traditional boats, they have this premium level boat for this age and the younger age. They have a couple different itineraries and yeah, it was really good stuff. So you can book them through Tour Radar and get commission. I believe it's 10%, or you can book direct with Go Croatia Sail, but I believe they only pay 5. So other sailings that if this doesn't quite fit your client, then other sailings you can look at are Top Deck and Kentucky if they're 18 to 35-ish. On the Go, which is a good supplier that we work with in Canada. The prices are in Canadian, but they have a lot of the Catarina Line sailings, and Catarina Line is the company that owns and operates a lot of the sailings. So even if there are other companies, a lot of the boats are Catarina Line. You can book also with Catarina Line directly, but it will be in euros. Okay. So these are just a few pictures. As you can see, like there's a swim spot. Um, you can see a bit of the food on board. It really was great for, a small little local ship. Um, some of the sunset photos and some of the port stops that we did. The sunset there is looking over Dubrovnik. So there's a cable car that goes up to the top there, and then you have this stunning view. I highly recommend going just before sunset so that you can see it as the sun is setting. People just sit down, you can bring a little picnic or snacks, drinks, and just watch the sun set, and it's beautiful. Or you can also hike it. For those of you who have clients who are a little more active and want that, they can hike it. I will say it is stinking hot in the summer, and it is a sweaty hike, let's just say. And then in the top left there, that's a winery we went to in Cortula. So Cortula, if you have clients who like wine, Cortula is such a nice spot for them to stay. So you have a really cute old town, lots of bars and restaurants, and then you can like rent bikes right in the old town there and bike around the whole waterfront. And there are a bunch of wineries. Um, it's a very, very cool spot. So highly recommend. Um, and then, yeah, if you have clients who are doing a one way or on a sailing that goes return to Dubrovnik, I'd also really recommend a couple nights in Dubrovnik. And from Dubrovnik, you can also do day trips out to Mostar in Bosnia, or you can go south into Kotor in Montenegro, which was absolutely a highlight when we were in Montenegro. Kotor is stunning old town. So that's Croatia. And then on to the lower Danube. So I did an Avalon Active in Discovery from Belgrade to Bucharest, and then 2 nights on land in Transylvania. Just FYI, this was my first river cruise, so I have nothing to compare it to. So just so you know that. It's obviously a small ship on a river cruise, so I did like that. I felt that like I got to know people on board a lot more than on the big ships. And that it was very easy to get around. It actually felt quite homey. Like I would just go into the lounge when I felt like it and make myself a coffee and grab a cookie and sit. If I had to work, I'd sit in the lounge and work. Or if we wanted to play some games, we'd go to the lounge or have a drink at night. So that was a nice cozy area. The Active in Discovery, for those of you who don't know, it's a category of their cruises that offer, instead of just um, the classic excursion when you get to port, you have 3 options. So you have classic, which might be like a city tour. Discovery might be like a winery or cooking class or something along those lines, and art gallery, something like that. And then active, which is a bike or a hike, something along those lines. So something a bit more active. They also have bikes on board that you can take off and just use on your own if you want to go out and explore on your own if you're comfortable. So it was really nice to have that option. I did find that the active excursions were, let's say, not for the most active people. So it was kind of active in the sense that really anybody could participate. Um, so when we had like a hike, it may have been like a quick, you know, half hour, fairly flat walk. Um, but then there were also places where they were a little bit more challenging. So um, it's not like you're going and you're going to run a marathon or anything, is what I'm saying. It's easy activity, but it's beautiful, and all of the places were really nice along the way. Um, the happy hour that Avalon has, they basically, you have an hour in the evening that you can come to the lounge, and um, drinks are free. So it's quite a nice way to get people mingling and socializing. So that was really fun. And this is a very unique itinerary. So if you have clients who have already done the main rivers, this is a good option. It's also, I found that the people that I was meeting had never cruised. Like there were a bunch of people who had never cruised. But this was a unique itinerary that they were drawn to. Um, a lot of time on land, and yeah, just something different. So a lot of the people I met, surprisingly, they had done tours like back roads and other types of like Butterfield and Robinson like biking trips, like luxury bike trips. So I found that interesting that it drew that kind of a crowd. Um, and then yeah, so because the ship's small, it was really nice just sitting on the top deck and cruising through the iron gates and everything, and it beautiful scenery. So yeah, it was great. But I did find that the food for me was a bit lacking. Breakfast was meh, and dinner could be really good or could be pretty average. And then stuff on the buffet was like vegetables were like boiled, which to me um, just reminds me of an older generation. So I feel like they're still catering to like that older crowd with the food, like steaks more well done, that kind of thing. So the food for me was okay, like sometimes great, but sometimes just okay. And then, yeah, again, the Wi-Fi wasn't that great. So the other thing was that a few days before we were supposed to end, they made an announcement that the water levels were really low and that we might not be able to finish the sailing at all, and that they might have to make other arrangements, send us on a bus um, to our endpoint. And actually, we saw that Viking did that, and we were lucky enough to finish the sailing. But just keep that in mind. That does happen with river cruises. And then the few nights afterwards in Transylvania, absolutely stunning area of Romania, like Transylvania, Brasov, really, really beautiful mountain towns, super cute, really lovely place. So definitely worth the add-on. And Bucharest, we spent an extra few days there. Really, really nice city. They call it the Paris of the East. It's beautiful. So highly recommend. And again, here are just some photos along the way. You can see some of the food. So again, most of it's really beautifully presented. Um, and then just some of the scenery. If you look in the top left, this is us going through the iron gates. So you can see this was our cabin, which was on the third level, and we were like completely underground, and it was very cool to go through. Um, and then yeah, just some beautiful, beautiful scenery in Eastern Europe. And then our last cruise was the Celestial Journey from Thessaloniki to Athens. And the cool thing with Celestial is that you can actually hop on at any of those ports with the star. So you can get on in Thessaloniki, you can get on in Kusadasi. My parents were meeting us for this cruise, and it was way easier from Toronto to get them to Athens than Thessaloniki, and cheaper. So they started in Athens, which you can see the next stop is Thessaloniki. So they were on board one night before we got on. And then we all ended in Athens. We just requested to get off a day early, which was not a problem. Um, so typically, though, you'll start and end at the same port. Uh, but the great part of Celestial is itinerary. Like, look at those times that you're in destination. It's really destination immersive. So, um, yes, the ship is a little older, and it kind of looks it, but there was really nothing wrong with the ship. Like, it was still comfortable. The service was still good. The food I was actually really impressed with. The entertainment was great. Um, but those times in port, like Santorini, you're there 7 a.m. until midnight. Mykonos, you're there 8 a.m. until 2 a.m. You have so much time to explore. So it's a really nice option for the clients who want to see those main islands in Greece. And a couple of the things I didn't love, every announcement that happens is said in English and French and Spanish and Portuguese and church, like everything. So just know that you're going to have to listen to a whole lot of announcements. And they still do an in-person, oh, what's the word? Where you meet at the start of your cruise to go through putting on the life vest. They still do that in person. I think it's the only cruise line that still does that. Um, and then
Muster drill.
yes, muster, thank you. So they still do an in-person muster. Um, The excursions, so when you book Celestial, you have an option. You can either book kind of the basic package, which gets you your gratuities included, all of your meals, of course. You get drinks with meals, which is actually quite nice, beer and wine. And then you get an $80 US excursion credit, and then you have the option to upgrade that package, and you can get like I believe drinks anytime and um, a higher excursion credit. We just did the basic one, and we did one excursion with them in Santorini because my mom has mobility issues, and it's a bit tricky to get around Santorini, so that was really convenient to do. But it was quite disorganized. You don't know the timing of your excursion until the night before. So we found out ours was 7 a.m., but then we didn't actually get on the tender till probably 8 a.m. So we're all just sitting in the theater. Nobody's made any announcements. It was a bit disorganized in that sense. And then but then the excursion itself was good. So that is Celestial. And here again, just some photos. I will say that Santorini and Mykonos are crazy busy. Like Santorini was way worse. That photo right in the middle, and then at the bottom with the blue roofs, like there were lineups in some spots, like to get the perfect angle and stuff. I'm like, any view there is beautiful, but people were actually lining up to get the perfect picture, and I thought that was madness. I'd never seen anything like that. So, yeah, that was crazy. Um, Milos, the moon beach there, at the bottom kind of center, those four pictures that look like a stone wall and cave and stuff. That was super, super cool. Probably one of my highlights. So it's just this massive rock beach, and you can walk along the rock to the beach and then swim in this perfectly clear water. And it's so salty, like I didn't even have to, you know, paddle, and I was just floating through it, and it's absolutely stunning. So really a big highlight for me. And everywhere is beautiful, but I did find Mykonos and Santorini a little overly touristy, um, which is to be expected. There are smaller, quieter um, islands in Greece, of course. A lot of people mentioned that Paros was a beautiful place to stay, so maybe pre or post you could book your clients there. And then when we ended our cruise, this was the end of our trip, so we wanted to, well, I wanted to just chill out. Like I wanted to get a place and just lay by the pool and do nothing. That didn't happen because there was a lot to do and explore around there, but we did get some nice relaxation time in here. So I ended up booking this villa for us, and it's about an hour outside of Athens in an area called Nafplio, near the Corinth Canal, which you can see in that second from the right photo, the Corinth Canal. Absolutely fascinating spot. It's really cool. Then there's also on the right hand side there some ancient sites that you can go visit and some beautiful views. And then the rest of this literally is the villa itself. Um, Beautiful, stunning sunsets, so many areas to chill, and it's a four-person villa, so as you can see, everything's set up for four. The loungers are for four. There's a dining table, um, and then upstairs by the pool, there's also four loungers. If you can see in the top middle photo, that bowl of like figs and grapes and espresso, um, the host, she was so lovely, and she brought that to us one day when we were relaxing by the pool. Um, she also helped us find a doctor when my dad needed one on a Saturday, which seemed impossible. So it was beautiful, beautiful place. I would highly recommend, and if anybody ever wants to book them, I can give you the link. It's just an Expedia tap, so we do get commission. Um, but if your clients want something outside of Athens, because Athens is pretty hectic, let's say they spend a couple nights in Athens before their cruise and they want to do something quiet after the cruise, but they don't have enough time to go to an island, this is a really nice option. But I do recommend having a car if you go here. Um, yeah, so we were looking at going to one of the islands after, but we had, I believe, 3 nights, and the ferry timings didn't align, and you'd be on the ferry for hours and hours, and this worked out so much better. So that is a cool alternative if you have similar situation. And then we did take the car in one day and do a walking tour. So um, the company Walks is an ensemble supplier, and they're a really cool company. They essentially do walking tours in a lot of US cities and some European cities. They also have a branch called Devour, which does food tours. Um, they're actually ending their tours in Greece. So I was on one of the last ones, but it gave me a good idea of how their tours operate. Highly recommend them. They were good. They were organized. The guide was entertaining. Um, she was so passionate about the history and the sites and everything. Um, because we made the mistake in Pompeii of not organizing a guide in advance, and it was like, you read the plaques, you listen to the audio guide, but it doesn't give you a good sense of what's actually happening, and it's kind of exhausting to go through. Um, Having her explain everything was really helpful, because otherwise you look at these ancient things and you have maybe a little bit of knowledge of the history, but you don't really understand the full extent of it. And so that, she gave good anecdotes, good background. I thought it was great. So definitely check out Walks and Devour, Ensemble Supplier, and you just book direct with them. We do have an agent portal if you want to sign up with them. Um, so that was Athens, and honestly, like, there are parts of Athens that are super sketchy and not the nicest place to be. So do a bit of research when booking clients in Athens. Like, you want to put them in a good area, because there are some really cool spots in Athens. As you can see, there's a lot of modern stuff mixed in with the old. It is pretty artsy. There's a ton of souvenir shopping, of course, but you just want to make sure that you put them in the right area. So do your research when booking Athens. And then, okay, we flew to Ireland to fly home WestJet business class, because I had essentially looked at everywhere that I could possibly come back from. And as you know, there's not a ton of airlines that do one-way flight pricing from Europe. Usually they charge quite a bit more to go one way. WestJet does not. WestJet does one-way pricing. And essentially, once I figured out WestJet's the cheapest way to fly home, I looked at all of their gateways, and London, Edinburgh, and Dublin were the cheapest. And then I narrowed down dates and everything. And once they had a sale, I booked. And guys, honestly, this was crazy. Business class was about $1,200, I believe, and um, and we could apply WestJet dollars, so which we had a lot of. So flying home business class was dirt cheap. Um, so really take a look, because yeah, you can look and see that economy is really cheap, but why not upgrade if you can? So it's great to turn around to your client and say, yeah, business economy is 400, but you know what? Premium's only 600 and business class 1200. Why not treat yourself? We came home, didn't really have jet lag. Like, it was amazing. These seats were beautiful. So you have your lie flat pods. In the top right, you can see me and Luke, and we were in the middle section. So in the middle, you have the partition. So if you're not traveling with that person, you close the partition. If you are traveling with that person, you open the partition if you want, or close it. Who knows? I have to say that pasta in the middle there was so delicious. Super comfortable seats, good good selection of entertainment. Of course, it goes to Calgary, and then you connect from Calgary. The lounge in Calgary is great. The lounge in Dublin was okay, but it was fine. It is what it is. But the Calgary one is pretty cool, and you can order things to your seat, which is nice. And what else can I say about WestJet? So yeah, I mean the whole Dreamliner is nice. The premium seats are great too, and even the economy. So definitely an easy sell for this. Um, and then that is pretty much it. So these are all the other places that we visited. Went through Italy and the Balkans and yeah, all the way down south and then up to Ireland. So here are my last takeaways, my best, worst, and tips. So best food, Italy, obviously, and surprisingly virgin. My favorite lake was Lake Bled in Slovenia, but Lake Ohrid in North Macedonia was very, very stunning as well. The Moon Beach in Milos was my favorite beach. My biggest letdown was Budva. So this is in Montenegro. It's like a beachy town. Um, I didn't love it. So essentially, the old town is actually quite new. Like it was burnt down and then they rebuilt it, and it's just every shop's a souvenir shop, or it's not a very authentic old town. Um, and then a lot of the Eastern Europeans, a lot of Russians and Ukrainians and whatnot, go there for like their long weekend getaways. So it's kind of a bit of a party destination, very touristy, inauthentic. It just didn't feel very um, European really at all. Um, it did have nice things like we did a full day boat trip out of there where you could go to different towns in Montenegro, and that was absolutely well worth it. And you should offer something like that to your clients if they do stay there, because it's a great use of a day and a great way of seeing other parts of Montenegro. But Kotor was hands down way nicer than Budva. Kotor is like a walled city similar to Dubrovnik, but smaller and beautiful. Definitely worth a few days. Most crowded, Santorini definitely also had the best views. My favorite country still, Slovenia. And I love pairing Slovenia with Croatia. If your clients have a couple weeks and they say, where should I go? Slovenia and Croatia for me is number one. My favorite city, uh, surprisingly, was Krakow. My least favorite country was Bulgaria. Sofia, the capital, was pretty cool, but the rest of it, you know how like in Europe, most towns on the river are actually like quite nice. This was not the case. So do like going on the river cruise, the stops in Bulgaria were a little bit lackluster. My top surprises were Matera, which for those of you who don't know, is in like South Italy, and it's essentially a city that's built into the mountains, and they all used to live in caves. So we got to stay in like a converted cave hotel. Really, really cool place. If your clients are doing a self drive or if they're staying along in Puglia along the coast, it's worth a day trip. I loved the Azores, Montserrat, Albania, and Kosovo, which I have to say, only went to for a day, but I was really not expecting it to be nice, and it was lovely. Um, Most underrated was probably Romania and North Macedonia. They were both really beautiful countries. Most expensive places, Ireland and Cinque Terre. So just so you know, with Cinque Terre, we stayed in Monterosso al Mare, and it's the only town in Cinque Terre with a proper beach. When you're sending clients to Cinque Terre, you need either a train pass or a hiking pass. And if you get the train pass, it includes hiking. But check ahead of time which hikes are open, because a lot of them are closed due to like the landscape, like a lot of the trails have kind of collapsed. So we could only hike between two of the towns. So those are things that you want to check ahead of time and make sure that your clients are aware of in case, they have these big hikes on their list and then they get there and they're not open. It was very busy in Cinque Terre, but then at the end of the day, when all the day trippers are gone, it's a really beautiful, quiet spot. Just know that everything closes early, so make sure your clients know that you really can't eat after like 9 o'clock there. Um, so least expensive places, Albania or North Macedonia, probably, but all the non-EU countries were less expensive. Um, the EU countries or countries trying to get into the EU are quite expensive and getting more expensive. Like there was a very noticeable difference between when I was in Croatia in 2017 and now. And COVID and inflation and everything is just warn your clients. Eastern Europe isn't as cheap as it once was, although it is definitely cheaper than Western Europe. So low light, we missed our ferry in Albania, in Italy, going to Albania, and we're stranded for the night. So that was a fun time. Um, just advise your clients to show up quite a bit early, so they don't miss it, and it'll probably be delayed anyways, and you'll stand there and watch it leave. So best tip that I can offer: book a free walking tour when you can. It's a really nice way to get oriented in a new city and figure out what you want to do for the rest of the time if you haven't pre-organized your activities. I use guruwalks.com. It's kind of like a consolidator of all of the different local free tours, and they just work off tips, so it's really cool. And then a little tip with car rentals, especially in Italy, there are ZTLs, which are limited traffic zones, and there are signs that tell you. They can be hard to miss though, so look out for them. But often, like, you can't drive or park in old towns. So somewhere like Matera, you actually have to park outside of the old town, and then they have like shuttles that run to the hotels. So you want to make sure that the accommodation you're booking has a shuttle, or that your clients are okay to walk with their bags through some pretty uneven roads. And then, yeah, meal times in Europe, everything I found closed for siesta time. So after like 2:30, you can't really eat until like 6, 7 o'clock dinner. And then most things are closed on Sundays. So try to plan things for your clients that don't involve going to like a museum or something that needs to be open, but maybe something like a beach day or like a boat trip or something like that. That's it, guys. Thank you for hanging in there with me.
That was a lot.
Dana, is this recorded?
Yes. Let me stop.
So I can revisit later? Okay, I like to, yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you.